Thank you. Yes. Good morning. So before I tell you anything about IT, I'd like to ask you just one question. How do you know your business is safe to continue? Not how do you think, not how do you hope, how do you know? What could stop your business trading tomorrow morning? I asked myself that question years ago, not because I wanted to start an IT service, because I noticed something. The businesses suffering the biggest IT disasters weren't careless, they weren't stupid, they weren't irresponsible. They simply assumed that everything was okay. So, that question for you, what could stop your business trading tomorrow morning, Monday morning? You don't necessarily need to answer me, but perhaps you're thinking things like fire, flood, power cut, loss of a major customer, cyber attack, member of staff making a mistake, or perhaps something entirely different. Now, here's my second question. How many of those things have you actually prepared for? How many do you hope you've prepared for? How many do you know you've prepared for? Because today isn't really about IT. It's about certainty. How do you know? So every year, I take my car for its MOT. I assume you do too, yeah? Not because I think it's going to fail, not because I'm a bad driver, not because I expect the wheels to fall off on the way home. I do it because somebody with more knowledge than me checks the things I can't see. They check the brakes, they check the steering, the suspension, the tyres, the things that quietly wear out over time. And when they've finished, I drive away with confidence. Yeah, you too. You want to be like this guy collecting their car after their MOT, completely relaxed, reassured that the things that you can't see, probably a bit like me, you don't understand, have been checked over. Now think about your business. How do you know your backups would actually work if you needed them? How do you know only the right people have access to your systems? How do you know your business could recover if something failed this afternoon? Notice I'm not asking what you think, I'm asking how do you know? Because every business has blind spots. A bit like when we're driving, every careful driver checks their mirrors. They check over their shoulder. Why do we do that? Because every vehicle has blind spots. Yeah. We check not because we're a bad driver, right? People check because they're human. Business is exactly the same. I've never met a business owner who wanted slow systems. I've never met one who wanted to lose customer information. I've never met one who wanted poor security, but I've met hundreds who genuinely believed everything was fine. People don't check because they're careless. They check because of what they can't see. We don't know what we don't know. And that's what an MOT does. It doesn't criticise the driver. It finds the things the drivers can't see for themselves. And that's exactly why we created the IT MOT. Not to replace your IT company, not to sell technology, to give business owners confidence. Confidence that the systems their entire business relies upon are actually fit for purpose. Because the most expensive business problems are rarely the ones you can see. They're the ones you didn't even know were there. So I often hear people say that their IT works just fine. Assuming that everything is just fine is fine until it's not. So when you drive your car, hopefully there aren't warning lights on all the time. And if there aren't warning lights on, does that prove your car's perfect? Of course not. It simply means nothing has alerted you yet. Business owners often tell me, well, we haven't got an IT problem. And I always ask the same question. How do you know? Not because I think they're wrong, because most business risks don't announce themselves. The team can appear to be happy, but business risks can be quietly growing till one day they become impossible to ignore. And that's exactly why every responsible driver checks their blind spots. That's exactly why we get our cars checked before things get dangerous. And in business terms, it's why we need to check out our IT, as that's what runs our businesses, communicates with our clients, invoices our customers, and helps us to deliver our products and services. But what if there are warning lights on? In business terms, that warning light could be the comment, "We're really busy." Who hasn't heard that in almost every conversation with clients and contacts? So I'd like to suggest something that might sound a little controversial. Being busy isn't always a sign of success. Sometimes it's a warning light. Think about the last time somebody in your business said, "I'm really busy." What were they actually busy doing? Serving customers? Winning new work? Or were they searching for files, waiting for systems, logging in, finding passwords, trying to work out which version of a document was the latest, walking over to somebody else and asking a question because the information wasn't where it should be? These things don't necessarily feel significant in the moment, but they can happen every single day. Individually, these things waste seconds. Together, they waste hours, and across a year, they can waste weeks. So when I hear somebody proudly tell me, "Oh, we're really busy," don't automatically think, "Congratulations." I wonder, busy doing what? So who of you has had a conversation recently where someone said, "I've been so busy today, I haven't stopped," or "Sorry, I didn't reply to your email, I've been really busy"? Maybe it was you. What were you busy doing? Was it any of those things I listed? Serving customers, winning new work? Or were you doing annoying things like searching for files, waiting for systems, resetting forgotten passwords that you know you'll probably have to reset again next time? Busy doing the wrong thing is the problem. Let me show you what I mean. So a client came to us, said they needed faster computers. Yeah. They contacted us because they were convinced they needed new computers because the team were frustrated. Everything felt slow. People were complaining. So naturally, everyone blamed the computers. People seem happy to complain about computers. That's a story for another day. When we looked a little deeper, we discovered something completely different was to blame for the slow computers. Files were everywhere, some on desktop, some in emails, some in shared folders, some local drives. Nobody knew where the latest version actually lived. So people searched, duplicated work, asked colleagues, merged documents, waited. And guess what? They repeated the whole process tomorrow. Computers weren't the biggest problem. The way information was organized was. And once we reorganized stuff, they didn't just get faster computers, they got back hours every single week. One of the directors said something that I'll never forget. "I thought we needed new computers. That was going to be expensive. I wouldn't actually have fixed our underlying issue." They would have continued to throw away good money after bad. What they really needed was somebody to look under the bonnet, and that's exactly what an IT MOT does. So my question to you is, how much would it cost you in your business to replace a team member who got so frustrated with the systems that they left? Think about recruitment costs, loss of experience, trying to train somebody else up to do the job, worse customer experience because of that change, reduced relationship with customers, teams, suppliers. Probably a lot more than you initially thought. So here's another warning light. How about the team keep complaining? IT is the only sector that I'm aware of where people seem happy to complain and accept the issues resolving themselves to poor IT. It does not have to be that way. So often when staff are complaining, a lot of managers hear those complaints. Yeah. But actually, every complaint is information. Every complaint is another clue. The interesting question isn't why are they complaining? It's why do these complaints keep happening? Because if people repeatedly complain about IT, it's rarely because they are difficult. It's because friction has become normal. And here's the danger. When something happens every day, people stop reporting it. They work around it. They accept it. They lose 5 minutes here, 3 minutes there, 10 minutes somewhere else, and nobody notices until you add it all together. That's why one of the biggest questions we ask during an IT MOT is, if I could wave a magic wand and remove one IT frustration tomorrow, what would it be? Not because we expect magic, not because we can perform magic, but because the answer nearly always uncovers the real problem and where the real value can be added. So if I walked into your office on Monday morning, what's the first IT frustration I'd hear? The complaints are not the problem, they're the warning lights. So I've spoken to you about 2 warning lights. Neither of them have mentioned anything like cybersecurity or backups, yet both can quietly cost a business thousands of pounds every year. Let's look at the warning light that actually worries me the most. IT costs too much. It's probably the warning light I hear the most often. And do you know what? Sometimes they're absolutely right. But here's the interesting question. Compared to what? Compared to buying a new laptop? Compared to paying a monthly support bill? Or compared to the hidden cost of poor IT? Because poor IT has a habit of sending invoices that never actually arrive. They come disguised as waiting, repeating work, staff interruptions, lost opportunities, customers waiting, frustrated employees. And none of these appear on your profit and loss, yet every one of them costs money. Let me give you an example. Can you put in the chat the number of minutes that you think are wasted every day due to IT issues? This is according to a BBC survey. So put a number in the chat, the number of minutes wasted per person per day due to IT issues. A range of numbers, right? I'll tell you. On average, one member of staff wastes 22 minutes per day because they're waiting for systems, searching for files, or working around IT problems. That's over 100 minutes every week and almost 100 hours every year. So you're paying wages for that time, but getting zero value from it. Suddenly that monthly IT bill starts looking very different, doesn't it? The question isn't, how much does IT cost? The better question is, how much is poor IT already costing us? That's the cost most businesses never manage. Have you ever delayed replacing a computer because it still works, but it's slow? Question for you. What do you think costs more? A laptop that you buy once at, say, £1,000, or 100 hours of lost productivity this year, next year, year after year? Obviously, it's that lost productivity. Have you ever given a new member of staff the old laptop from the back of the cupboard? I'd like to suggest there's a reason it was at the back of the cupboard in the first place. And quite often, it should probably stay there rather than quashing the enthusiasm of that lovely new recruit that you've got. How many of those really slow computers became an urgent replacement later? Things that can appear as saving money in the short term, i.e. not buying a new device, rarely save money. We simply choose when we're going to spend it. So poor IT is usually far more expensive than good IT. Businesses often focus on the monthly IT invoice. That rarely measures the hidden cost of lost productivity, frustration, missed opportunities. So we've now looked at 3 warning lights. So we're really busy, the team keep complaining, IT costs too much. None of those really sound like IT problems, yet every one of them can be caused by IT. So here's my question. How do you know whether these warning lights are normal or signs that something underneath the bonnet needs attention? That's how you find out the IT MOT. So I want you to know rather than guess. So by now you might be thinking that we spent time talking about everything that could be going wrong. That's not exactly what we've been doing. We've been explaining why assumptions can be dangerous. There's a huge difference. So an IT MOT isn't about proving your IT is bad. In fact, some of the best IT MOTs that we carry out result in us saying, you're doing a really good job in many areas. And that's a fantastic outcome because the business owner then knows. They're not hoping, they're not assuming, they know. If you think back to your car, when you last had it MOT'd, you didn't celebrate because your MOT found worn brake pads. You celebrate because they found them before they failed. Exactly the same is true in business. We identify what's working well with your IT. We identify what needs attention. We prioritize the risks. Then you decide what you want to do. No jargon, no pressure, just clarity. So who would rather proactively discover an IT problem because you got it checked? Or would you rather wait for it to go horribly wrong, perhaps get a ransomware attack or lose some data to find out the hard way? That's what an IT MOT is. So the IT MOT doesn't create problems. It uncovers them that are already there while they're still easy and considerably less expensive to fix. So we've looked at those warning lights, we've looked at hidden costs, we've looked at why assumptions are dangerous. The only question left is, what does an IT MOT actually look like? So let me show you. Most people expect the IT MOT to start talking about firewalls, Microsoft 365, servers, cybersecurity. I don't start with that because none of those things are why business owners invite us in. They invite us in because they want answers. They want to know, are we secure? Could we recover? Is our IT helping us or holding us back? What are the biggest risks? What should we do first? That's exactly what the IT MOT report gives them. Not pages of technical jargon. Not a list of everything that's gone wrong. A prioritized action plan. What's working well, what needs attention, what can wait, and what deserves immediate action. So every recommendation is explained in plain English. So whether you ask us to help or you actively choose to do nothing at all, at least you'll understand your business and the risks far better than you did before. So another question for you. If you could only know one thing about your IT tomorrow morning, what would it be? Would it be that your backups definitely work? That your business would recover quickly? That only the right people have access? Or simply that you're already doing a good job? An IT MOT gives business owners clarity not technology, not jargon. Confidence to make informed business decisions. So everything we've talked about today comes down to one thing. You have two choices. You can assume or you can know. Every successful business I've worked with has made the same decision. They choose to know. I'd like to finish with one final thought. Nobody buys IT because they love IT. Nobody wakes up on a Monday morning thinking, I hope I'm going to buy some antivirus software today. They buy IT for what it gives them. Think about your electricity. Actually, let's face it, you don't think about it until it stops working. Think about the chilled water in the office. You don't appreciate it until it's not there. Great IT should be exactly the same. It shouldn't demand your attention. It should quietly help your business succeed in the background. It should help your team spend less time waiting, less time asking for help, less time worrying, more time serving your customers, more time winning work, more time growing the business. So we help businesses remove that unnecessary friction. Because when IT just works, people work better. Customers are better looked after. Businesses grow with more confidence. And owners sleep better at night. That's the real outcome of an IT MOT. So imagine you walk into your office tomorrow morning and every piece of technology simply worked. No complaints, no delays, no interruptions. What benefits would you get? Would your team achieve? Remember, people don't buy IT. They're getting confidence, productivity, and peace of mind. So I'll leave you with exactly the same question that I posed at the start. What could stop your business trading tomorrow morning? When I asked you today, you probably guessed an answer to that. I hope now you have a bit more certainty, because certainty is exactly what our IT MOT gives you. If over the next few weeks you hear somebody saying, we're really busy, perhaps they say everything takes longer than it should, the team keep complaining, or IT costs too much, just ask them one question. How do you know everything is actually okay? And if they can't answer it, that's when I would love an introduction. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tor. Any questions?
What would you say your ideal client profile is?
My ideal client profile.
Yeah, like size or type of business or.
So I love working with businesses between about 7 and 17, particularly in either the manufacturing sector or the property sector. The people within the business are often the operations director or the office manager. You know, that person in the business where something needs to be done and they make it happen. That person who deals with all the different teams, yeah, and they get stuff done. They're a great person for me in those sizes of business because they often don't have somebody in-house who does this, and they 100% rely on their IT and haven't got time for it to go down or it to cause them problems. Thank you for your question.
Yeah, thank you, Tor. Great presentation. Typically, how long would it take you to do a review and how much would it cost?
So the IT MOT is, the initial one is free. For businesses of that size, between about 7 and 17, it takes under an hour to do the questions. I then go away, do the report, and then present that, which takes about half an hour. If it's a much bigger business or they have something specific that they need us to review, that could be a very different conversation. Yeah. But yeah, the standard review takes less than an hour.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
So you said people waste 20 minutes or something on IT. I think that's it's probably a little bit more than that. Do you know how much the people you help, how much do they waste on IT, you think really need your help?
So it's an average, and it's one of those averages that we all hope that we are definitely under.
Yeah,
Because I think you're absolutely right. There are a lot of people who are significantly worse than that. It's a very interesting question because it's not something that people measure because they don't realize until you start asking the questions how much time they're wasting because they've got so used to it.
yeah,
I've seen people who arrive in their office, they turn their computer on, it takes a quarter of an hour for this thing to boot up, and they're pretty much near the average before they've even started their working day. And then it's just slow and it builds and builds. And it's after we fix these things that people suddenly go, wow, this is so much better. And until we point it out, they didn't really realize how bad it is. Or they wait for it to get really bad and then people leave.
yeah,
Yeah. Or when things are slow, one person will talk to a second person and whinge about it, or they're waiting for something, so they just have that chat. That then doubles that average because they're taking up that other person's time at the same time.